So if you're fresh onto today and you hadn't attended anything and this is your first one, welcome. So this is Carlton, who's the games coordinator at AIT. So what we're going to do is we've been talking about interactive media all day. Now we're going to put our IT hat on. So it's something totally different. So it'll start off with a tiny little intro on the two different areas you can go down in IT. Then we'll bring Carlton back on and he'll do a games programming demo. So Henry's on the chat, or might as well welcome him back. Henry, how are you, man? You traveling? You going okay?
Hey, Andy, yes, doing all right. What about you?
I'm good.
Awesome.
Good. Then we also got Thais as well, who's our international advisor, who's on the chat as well. So you can always shoot her a message if you want.
Hey, everyone.
Okay, so bear with me. This is only 2 slides to start off with, and we'll jump into Carlton's games programming demo. Oh, actually, I forgot. We've also got Natalia as well, who is a IT graduate from AIT as well. Isn't it? Natalia, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, how you going? We'll have a chat with you in a little bit as well.
No worries.
Okay, so IT. So it's pretty different to everything else that we've been doing all day or talking about all day. So look, a Bachelor of IT is a very, very good, safe degree to have these days because it's just completely booming in terms of cloud, software, you know, everything is like some sort of XaaS these days. Anything as a service, which is all IT and all cloud-based. But similar structure, similar flexibility to how our other courses go, where you can roll into the diploma. That's your foundational IT skills. That's the first 8 subjects of the degree. And then after that, you can graduate with a diploma, or you can go down the mobile app development road, or go down the games programming road. Similar thing where you can do year 1 and 2, which is the first 16 subjects. Graduate, see how you go, and then if you can come back and finish off the last year if you want. If you're new to this and hasn't attended a session yet, so all our classes are live streamed online through a student software called Canvas. So you can attend classes online as well as on campus. We just advise to try to be on campus at least once a month because it is, even though it's IT, it's still really practical, and you'll get a sense pretty soon that we do actually make it still pretty interactive, even though it's an IT degree, which can, you know, historically be a little bit flat. So we do make it as interesting as possible. And, you know, when it comes to games and mobile apps, it's always pretty fun too. So no matter how you slice it, whether it's mobile app development or games programming, across everything in AIT, actually, we're still looking at a 77% employment rate, which we're really proud of. We had Michael from Merck talk before, who, you know, we've got strong connections with, and, you know, he's got a really good company going. There's a guy who I'll speak about a bit later named Ko, who actually worked with Merck as well. He's now working elsewhere, but I'll talk about it a bit later. And then there was Jack from the last games design session, who's now working for Red Cartel, but heaps of different game studios as well. So we're connected with a lot of, you know, IT-based companies as well, like TPG, which is not really your interactive media-based stuff or whatever, or more design-based stuff. But you know, whatever you want to do work-wise, we can do our best to make it happen. So I'll bring Carlton on, and we're going to go into games programming. We'll then bring Natalia on after, and then we'll have a bit of a chat, and then we'll finish the day with mobile app development. So over to you, Carlton, man.
All right, let me just take over the screen. One last. Just let me know if you can see that, and then. Yep. I can't see the chat, so I totally can't see the chat. So there's no chat I'll read the chat later. So anyways, but yeah, once again, thanks for staying back for this last session. I know everyone's, you know, been here. Some of you have been here, you know, for a long time already. And I know it's reaching the end of the day. So I appreciate everyone for, you know, taking the Saturday to, you know, spend the time checking this out and then learning a little bit about, you know, your passion and possible future career, right? And so this is the programming session. So for those who are keen to see how the programming side works, because, ever heard of the left brain and right brain theory? You have the left brain, very technical oriented. So if anyone's here, like, let's say building computers and you like computer specs, the 9800 GT with the 16 gig RAM and the 512 hard drive and, you know, very numbers oriented and all that sort of thing, then, you know, you're a very left brain sort of person, right? And then programming, you know, might be your thing, right? I had a person who came into the degree and he was like, yeah, I'm not a programmer, but he's doing games design. But I don't think I like programming. But he's very into building computers, right? And like files and all that sort of, and like downloading and torrents. Anyways, so you can tell that he's very like technical minded, right? And he came in like, oh, I don't want to be a programmer. But I look at him as like, you're a programmer because you're left-brained. And then in the end, he turned out to be our best graduate, right? And now he's like amazingly awesome doing stuff, right? So, you'll never know, right? And then you got the right brain. The right brain is the creative side, the art side. So what we did before on the level design, wow, this needs to be a red mushroom with a green tree, or there's a slug riding on the tree, and then there's a monkey swinging, right? The design part, right? And so that more creative right brain side. But anyways, welcome to the left brain session of coding. So I sort of rambled on, but I've got 15 minutes now to sort of make a game. So let's make a game in 15 minutes using coding in Unreal. So this is Unreal, the same thing you saw before. We got some cool 3D models, 3D models. And then I'm going to make a shoot 'em up game. Anyone know what a shoot 'em up game is? Those classic games that you play in the arcades where a plane is sort of like shooting, you can shoot asteroids or you can shoot aliens, right? And so I'm going to shoot these asteroids. And how will we do that in a game? So let's give this a try. Now, obviously, like last session, we talked about a little bit about blueprints. Yeah, blueprints is how Unreal, one of the ways that you can code a game in Unreal is through blueprints. The other way is through C++, right? And so both ways work, right? But yeah, either way, we're typing in some words, right? You're either typing it in code, or if you want to look pretty, we go add actor world offset. Whoa, now what the hell is happening, right? Coding is all just a bunch of magical spells like Wingardium Leviosa. You just need to know what the hell that means, and over time, once you collect a bunch of spells, hopefully you know how to do stuff, right? And so here's this mad cryptic word, add actor world offset, which totally means nothing, but it will do something, right? This means move, right? So just keep this in mind because you see there's a lot throughout this session. Add actor, world offset. Sometimes I have hard time remembering it, right? And so what I'm going to do, this is the moving code. I'm going to move left and right, yeah? And so to do that, I'm going to chuck in this little horizontal axis thing, right? And so part of coding is all about remembering buzzwords, right? Remembering all your spells in your spell book. We got a thick spell book. Your job is to memorize all the spells in the spell book, starting with the very first spell, horizontal input, which means pressing left and right on the keyboard, and then connecting up to add actor world offset, which means move, yeah? And so, yeah, just keep that in mind. Now, we're in a 3D space. So 3D space is X, Y, Z, yeah? So just keep that in mind in the game, X, Y, Z. What the hell does that mean? So I just want to show you this axis here, right? X is this red arrow. So that means moving this way, right? Y is moving left and right, right? And Z, which is this blue arrow here, is moving up and down, yeah, up and down. So we're in 3D space now. So I want to get the ship moving. What axis is this? This is the y-axis, yeah, the green arrow. So long story short, I'm just going to move on the y. So coming back to my code here, I'm going to connect my horizontal axis to the y-axis. I don't know if you can see clearly on the screen, but yeah, X, Y, and Z. When I press left and right, I move on the y. Now, if I do that, it's going to work, but let me just sort of jump the gun and do some quick maths. Right, multiply. Now, right now I'm moving at one unit by 1 unit, so it's going to be slow. So I'm just going to save some time. I'm going to go 1 because by default I'm moving on 1 unit per frame. I'm just going to go 1 times 20. Yeah, 1 times 20 equals 20. Yeah, how's good your math? This is why we learn maths. Yeah, because when we come to games, we need to know some. 1 times 20 equals 20. Long story short, I'm moving very, very fast, right? And so let's come back to this game here. And now we press play. Whoa, I'm moving left. Now, by default, I would have moved very slow, but because I cranked it up to 20, now I'm somewhat moving a bit more faster. So that's good, right? So that's step number 1, moving left and right. I've got this bullet here. So this green bullet, this is just a cube. Yeah, this is a nice green cube. So this is going to be my bullet. Lots of things you can do in Unreal, right? This is the material editor. So let's say, for example, if I sort of, oh my God, is this the material editor? No, it's not. This is, let me go to the bullet. So let's come into this green material here. Right now it's green. But games is all about numbers, yeah? Behind the scenes, a lot of numbers is happening. So this is green at 0.1. I'm going to green at 50. So green times 50. Think about it. Green times 50. What the hell does that mean? That means very green, yeah? And if I do green times 50, now I get like a mad, super glowing green, yeah? Intense green, yeah? So now you know what green times 50 is, right? So I'm going to get this moving. It's a bullet, yeah? We move up, yeah? How do we do that? How do we get something moving? What was the code again? Do you remember that mad spell that you need to cast? It was add actor world offset Wingardium Leviosa, remember? And so anyways, let's connect that up. And now we're moving forward. So what axis is this? X, Y, and Z. Think about it. Think about the, I can't see the chat, otherwise I'd be asking you guys, but place in the chat and let's see if anyone gets it right, right? We're going to move forward. The red arrow is the x-axis, right? And so anyways, I'm just going to quickly hit this bullet here. I'm going to move to now if 1 is very slow, 10 is probably decent fast, and 20 could be very fast, right? And so anyways, so the numbers dictate the speed, right? And so if we do that and we click play, boom, now we got a laser. I don't know if you saw it, but the laser is like, boom, it flew away, right? So that's kind of good. But this is just the laser that's here, and then, it's just sort of moving. So I don't want to just have it here. I want to spawn it. So I just deleted it, and I want to spawn it, right? And so coming back to, this is my ship. I'm coding at different places here, right? I'm going to press spacebar, so input spacebar or something. So if I press space, I cast another spell, something that you see a lot in the game called spawn actor. Now, you see that we got add actor, we got spawn actor. Long story short, Unreal likes to call everything actors. So every object in Unreal is kind of like an actor, yeah. So the ship is an actor, the bullet is an actor, the enemy is an actor, everyone's an actor. Think film. It's like in a film, everyone's an actor. So anyways, spawn actor, add actor, world offset. Hopefully that kind of makes more sense over time, right? And I'm just going to get actor like transform or something. So it says, where do you want to spawn this? Where do you want to spawn it? Get actor, get the objects, transform, which is position, spawn at my location. Yeah, spawn at my location. And if I do that, what the hell just happened? I press spacebar to spawn an actor. Where? At my actor's location. I'm going to say actor a lot because that's what Unreal wants us to say, actor all day. Anyway, so now I'm pressing space. I am spawning an actor, which is a bullet, at my actor's location. What's my actor? The ship. The ship is my actor. Spawn the bullet actor. I'm going to stop saying actor, sorry. But anyways, long story short, that's how we shoot. Great. We're almost there. So here we got this asteroid. See this asteroid? It's going to come down at us. So what axis is that, right? So if x to the 1 is going that way, then how can we make it go backwards, right? And so if you think about it, right, that would be going -1, yeah? And so that means, let me just dock this here. So what's that spell again? To move? To move is that cryptic word, add actor world offset. We're getting the hang of it, right? We're getting the hang of it. And so I'm going to connect this up. I'm just going to move this minus 10 or something. Yeah, minus 10. And if we do that, now if I press play, whoops, sorry. And then we come back and press play. Now it's coming down at us. Yeah, because it moves down negative -10. Simples, hopefully, right? But we don't want it to just do that. We want it to spawn, yeah? So I'm just going to delete this and delete this. I'm going to spawn. I need to code it somewhere, right? And so maybe this box, I just have the box here. I just need somewhere to code it at, yeah? So I'll just code it on this box, which is off screen, so you don't actually see it. So there's this hidden object off screen, right? And so here's this, I call this the spawn manager, this cube, spawn manager. It's just a name that you make up called spawn manager. So what's that buzzword to spawn something? Spawn actor. We're getting the hang of it, hopefully, right? Spawn actor. And here I'm just going to go, bruh. And where do you want to spawn it from? I'm just going to go get actor transform. So at my location, which is the cube, right? Spawn at my location. What's this? This is I call it rocks. So here we go, rocks. Boom. Now, what's happening? How many frames a second on a game? There's 60 frames a second, yeah? Keep that in mind. There's 60 frames a second in a game. Long story short, now there's 60 rocks per second. Oh my God, I'm going to crash my game. So yeah, 60 rocks constantly spawning because I put it on every frame, it's going to spawn, right? So, and then you start over time learning all kinds of cryptic words like delay, right? So here's this word called delay, which hopefully just kind of makes sense. I'm going to delay it every 0.6 seconds. Yeah, can you guys see? Duration delay 0.6 seconds. And if you do that, then that means every 6 seconds. Oh, whoops, I coded in the wrong place. This is the moving. I want it on the spawning. Yeah, so hold up. Let's come into the spawning, which is spawn manager. Let's check a delay here. Okay. And then I just hook it up here and then connect this up. So yeah, coding and scripting in Unreal is kind of like hooking up nodes, right? So now you can see this process. So I can go 0.6, and then if I press play once more, you can see that now I have 0.6 there. Sorry. Let me just jump back into the game. Where's my game view? Here we go. All right, and we come back to here, and then there's like 0.6 every 0.6, right? To finish it off, I wanted to just randomly go on the left and right, yeah? And so coming back to my spawning code, right? And so now you see that I've been secretly just splitting it up, right? So if I go like split, I can get like more numbers, and then I split, and then I keep splitting because. And so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to split some of these and just reconnect it, because secretly behind the scenes, it's just like X, Y, Z, right? And so X, what, Z. Now, left and right, what axis is that? That is the Y axis, yeah? So let's quickly come back to here with my game. The Y axis is left and right. See this green arrow? That's left and right. I want random left and right. And so long story short, I'm just going to chuck a random float in range. So this is a random number between what? Minus 2000 and 2000. So it's minus 2000 on the left, 2000 on the right. Give me a random number between these two things, right? And if I do that, I hook it up to the Y axis. So it's going to randomly on the Y axis. And if I do that, here we go, and then press play. Now we should have random spawning boxes, yeah? And then, I'll just have to finish it off. And one more thing. Oh, one thing I didn't sort of show is this space material. This is just a Google texture I found on Google. If you just Google space texture on Google, you'll probably find this exact texture. I'm just going to chuck a quick panner. I'm just going to pan this because it's going to make it look really cool. So I'm going to pan this on the 0.2 on the X maybe. Right? I'm going to pan the material. And if I do that, have a look what happens. So I just quickly save. Right? Okay, and you will see that. Whoops, I'm panning on the wrong way. Sorry. So let's just pan it the other way. So that is the other axis. Well, I'm losing it. Here we go. The panner. 0.2 on the x-axis. Yeah, so I'm just panning the material at 0.2 speeds, right? And if you do that, that should give us this optic illusion of, whoa, it's just scrolling the material, yeah? And that feels like we're sort of flying in space, right? And then over time, where's my rocks? My rocks are gone, oh gosh. And then, and then with our spawn manager here, here's our spawn rocks. And then last but not least, I just want to finish off with killing the rocks. So here, one more code to finish off the day. This cube here, I'm just going to add an event called begin overlap. Here's another cryptic word, begin overlap, which means hit stuff. When I hit stuff, what happens? I just want to destroy, yeah? So I'm on the bullet now. I know I'm like, yeah, you're probably like losing track of everything, but that's okay, right? Just to show you the concept of what's it like at full speed coding, right? Kind of full speed. And so, yeah, when I begin overlap, when my bullet hits stuff, I destroy actors. Actors, what's actors? They're objects in the game, right? I destroy actors. First of all, I destroy the other guys. Have a look. See this node here? This is the other guy, the other actor. Now think about it. I'm the bullet. The other guy is the asteroid, yeah? And so I delete the other guy, destroy actor. And then once I killed him, I kill myself as well. And then I have 2 destroy actors. I kill the other guy and then I kill myself. Boom. And hopefully, I don't know how we did on time. Hopefully I made it in time, but that should be a game. So let's quick play and boom, I've got an asteroid and then I can shoot, right? Remember I can shoot once upon a time. And then if I hit stuff, hopefully there's stuff coming my way in the center. Boom. Yeah. And then I can shoot them and then off we go. That's kind of a game, right? So yeah, hopefully that sort of like gives you a crash course into what game coding is like, right? We got all these objects in Unreal Engine, and then we just jump into each object and type some code on it, and then that does things and make things work, yeah? And that is a bit of game scripting. Thanks. Hope you enjoyed that.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Carlton. Okay, I'll just share my screen. I'll take over yours. There you go. Okay, so you saw in the last session how to make a game on the front end, and then you saw how to make it work on the back end. So that gives you a complete game through the Unreal Engine, basically, in 15 minutes anyway. So what will you learn? So kind of goes without saying that you're going to learn how to code through the Unreal Game Engine. Pretty much every company is going to be like, how much of the Unreal Engine have you used and how much do you know of it? They're definitely going to ask you. Like it's the most sought after, most in demand game engine at the moment. And you know, if you attended the games design sessions and saw the show reel, you saw how many games that are familiar to are using Unreal. Like Mortal Kombat's one of the biggest ones. So you're going to be able to code through Unreal to quite a strong, significant capacity. Then you can't really escape the front end stuff. You're going to go into Photoshop and Blender as well. So that gives you that sort of game development skill and sort of front end skill too. But then it dips into a third avenue, which is creating your own custom game. So you're building a whole engine from scratch. So your own custom game with its own custom engine. So that's pretty sort of next level stuff in terms of game skill and what you can do. Because for certain things, the Unreal Engine's only going to stretch so far. So if you go into the 2 different avenues of the first one's your safety net of coding through the Unreal Game Engine. So that's a pretty comfortable salary, 70 to 90K, to be using a pre-existing engine. But then custom engine is something totally different, which is why the salary is a lot higher. So if you take Sledgehammer Games, who made Call of Duty, they used their own custom engine for Call of Duty because it was only going to, like Unreal was only going to give them so much to be able to make the game that they wanted to make. The reason why Call of Duty was so successful is because that's a whole customized engine just for Call of Duty. So you can kind of probably pick up the flavor on why that's more sought after and why that's a higher salary, because it takes a bit more pepper. Instead of just using something that already pre-existing in building, like what sort of Carlton was doing, which is still good, you're making the whole engine from scratch. So you've got those 2 different avenues. And then in the middle of that is your Blender and your sort of front-end Photoshop as well. So you're not really escaping the visual aspects. But what it does is it puts you in pretty good stead to be able to do some pretty amazing stuff in terms of coding for games. So, you know, you've got your Unreal Engine, you've got your own custom engine, so you can kind of do whatever you want. So that is a nice segue into making whatever type of game you want, whether it's an MMO, RPG, you know, first-person shooter, adventure game, a driver game, AR, VR game, whatever. You're going to be able to code for that, and you're going to be able to build an engine for that, whether it's your own one or whether it's using a pre-existing one like the Unreal Engine. So you've got pretty good flexibility on what you want to do and what sort of game it is you want to produce. So in terms of games, Carlton, would you like to talk a little bit more about some of the games-based subjects on this one?
So this is the IT course in game programming. So we've got our interactive media where there's also game programming, and then we've got our IT game programming. And usually the question is, what's the difference? And this comes down to you do game programming and what's this and, right? And so in interactive media, you do and 3D modeling and 3D art assets. But here in game programming, you do game programming and more extra programming in other languages and in other tools as well. So let's quickly have a look at some of this list, right? Obviously, there's a lot of, because the aim is to get you to become proficient programmers and not necessarily, strictly in games as well. Sometimes it can branch into all these other stuff, right? So let's say, for example, we've got foundation programming in like C++, right? So learning the C++ language. What I showed you there was scripting, right? So in Unreal Engine, you got all these building blocks. It's called scripting, but behind the scenes, you already kind of know some coding programming concepts, right? Because it's all just derived from programming, right? And so through foundation programming 1, programming 2, you get good at your programming in order to do simple applications, right? So what's applications? Think about the EXEs on your computers, those executables, EXE, you double click, boom, out comes a window. You create all these apps and interface, right? There's a close window, there's a button, you press, it goes into some other, I don't know, what's an application on your screen. There's a lot these days. Right? Let's say, for example, this Epic Games, no one sees my screen, but yeah, let's say all these windows that pop up, right? And so a lot of software. So that's software engineering, right? You create apps like, how do we create a mobile app as well, right? Along with a desktop app. So it's not really games oriented, but at least you know the coding behind the building the software side of things. So not specifically to games, because one day, with your coding skills, you are a strong coder, not only in games, but for all other applications as well, right? So stuff like web, for example, you do some intro to web, you can build websites, which is actually really important. Up till this day, I'm still building websites, right? And so that skill has lasted me since, forever and still forever to come, right? And then we got all these random things like user interface design. So if you see like the bottom left here, like year 2 interface design. And so, a lot of applications is, if you think about it, a user interface, right? Where's the close button? Where's the play button, right? You click here, it takes you to there. You click here, it takes you to there. You click here, it opens this up. You open this up, and you open this up. So it's a lot of interfaces, especially on the web, and especially on your mobile, and especially on your computer. There's a lot of clicks here and there interface, right? And so that's that. And then you go into other random things like game engine programming. So what I showed you was making the game, but making the engine is making the Unreal, right? See all those interfaces and windows that pops up that I'm coding in, all those windows that's popping up, that is the engine, right? The interface itself. And that's sort of like game engine programming, and creating the engine and the, how do you get all these like interfaces happening, right? That's because one day, you could be working on another game company that doesn't use Unreal. They're working on their own engine. They're making their own windows and tools, right? I think like Jack before mentioned tools programming. So you're making cool windows that does stuff, right? And so that's what software is, right? And then, of course, you do game development, which is Unreal. So game development, augmented reality, which is using the engine to do augmented reality with your mobile phone as well. There's game project, which is sort of like towards the end, your game project, your advanced studio is sort of like your major projects, right? And so the cool thing about advanced studio is we make games to also, there's games, and there's also like games for client work, right? What the clients want for their games. Like if you saw Jack before in his VR demo with Shell, they were working with Shell, the petrol, right? But not just purely petrol, but they were making the racing game, right? For Shell as a company, because Shell needed, their game to sort of like teach them how to like do pit stopping and all that. So yeah, so client-oriented games, which is not always like conventional games that we're playing on Xbox and PlayStation, but there's also client games as well, and we have to like design to a brief. And so yeah, lots of things. But long story short, the whole course is to make you become really solid programmer, so you can make not only games but apps and websites and applications as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Carlton. Okay, so we spoke about it in games design, but a bit of a refresher. So even if you're doing the IT side of things and majoring in games programming, you're still part of game day. So Henry will chuck in the link again in case you didn't see it last time. But basically you're winning awards for whatever game you've produced. So best AR, VR game, best shoot 'em up game, best MMO game, whatever, best cosplay. Industry come to this as well. So you're getting recognition for the sort of work that you've done. You're seeing what other students have done. You're playing your games with industry, so they're seeing what you're making as well. So really, it's a really nice way to just sort of sit back, play the game you put all your hard work and coding into, and also see what other students are working on as well, and do a bit of networking in the meantime. Refresher again about Games Mastermind, industry panel nights. So it's basically a Q&A. So heaps of different professionals from different game studios come on and do a talk. So Unreal 4 to Unreal 5, is Unity back in, is it not? What do you have to know, what shouldn't you know? And just basically having a full spill the beans night on what it is to work in the games industry and what you should know. And it's another way to do some nice networking as well with games industry. So, you know, you're going to be doing a lot of hands-on stuff and you're going to be meeting a fair few people as well. So you're in pretty good hands in terms of finding work. With IT, it's called Advanced Studio. It's not called the Forge, but it's a similar thing. So you're still your final piece of work where you're making a whole game from scratch from whatever sort of language or programming style you want, which you then present to a games industry panel for marking. So teachers like Carlton will be more your mentors, not so much the markers in that one. So you're doing all these nice events where you're mingling with industry and then you present your game to industry before you finish as well. When you do the IT course, you do another external project subject as well, which is basically working for a company as part of the subject. So I'll bring on Natalia, who did the Bachelor of IT with us. How you going there, Natalia?
Hello, pretty good, thank you.
Good, good. So when did you study and what campus were you and when did you graduate?
Yeah, so I studied at the Sydney campus. I did my Bachelor's of IT in games programming and I graduated this year in May, June. Yeah.
So what are you up to now? Are you still working at Motorsport Games?
Yes, I am. So I joined Motorsport Games in July after a month, probably after graduating. And yeah, just having a lot of fun.
Amazing, amazing. So looking back on when you were sort of deciding to study, what do you think the best thing was to look for in terms of like your course selection and deciding where to study? What were the things that you were searching for?
So for me, it was very important to choose something that I enjoyed. So I always liked playing video games. Of course, it's different. Playing video games is one thing and making video games is another thing. But I knew that I was going to enjoy just testing out games and things like that. So I would stick with something that I know that I will enjoy. And I know that because I'm going to spend a few hours into that. And so definitely something that you know that you're going to get something out of it and you like doing it.
Yeah. So we're going to go on a bit of a journey, I think, with you because you've got a fair bit to showcase. Are you happy if I just control the slides and we?
Yeah, that's okay. No worries. Yeah,
okay. No worries.
Let's do it.
Here we go.
Yeah. So just a very basic background. I was born in Brazil, lived in Japan, and then came to Sydney, and then decided to study at AIT when I came to Sydney. Yeah, just wanted to study something related to IT, and that's why I chose AIT for that. Yep.
Awesome. Oh, that's pretty coding to me.
So yeah, that was a bit scary actually at the beginning because I had no experience at all with programming, and I thought it was something something completely out of the world for me. But once you get in, then you start understanding how it's not that hard. Of course, if you're looking from the outside, it's different. But then once you start studying and once you start understanding, like Carlton said, we get the foundation programming subject and we get all of these basic subjects that you get the theory and you get what's the foundation. Then it's okay. Then you just start having fun and enjoying it. So that's what happened to me. Yeah.
Because if you look at it, there's nothing like mathematical about it. It's just words, It's like what Carlton was saying. It's going to know Wingardium Leviosa. Then once you know that, it's going to give you a command,
Yeah, true. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, so that actually is one of my first assignments, which I did in Introduction to Web. It was actually on the first term of uni. And then we were able to come up with a website of 5 pages. So we got 5 pages in this website. And it was just so magical. So after that, I was like, wow, I can really do stuff with this, So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Awesome. So good.
Yeah, there's just a bit more of the GTA website. Yeah, so you got the code on the left, you got some gallery that I've done on the right, and just a bit of, so you have an idea of the code that's just HTML and HTML only, I think. Yep. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Awesome. So, I've got this one as well.
That's student journey. So it's amazing, guys. You like all my classes, some of the classes we only had like 6 people in the class. So you get really this close attention to all of the educators, and it's fun. It's super fun. So can't really say much. Yeah.
That's good. We try to make on campus as fun as it is. It's a pretty lighthearted culture as well. You've got me running around cracking stupid jokes all the time as well.
For sure.
So how are we going for time? So we've got 15 minutes left for the day. Natalia, if you don't mind sticking around, I'll introduce everyone to the idea of a mobile app, and then we'll bring you and Carlton on at the end and have a bit of a chat, just because we've got sort of 15 minutes left. Okay, so that's all games programming. Now we're going to take that hat off and put our mobile app development hat on. So you'll see some of the things are the same, and then it goes into a pretty different avenue as well. This is probably more in line with more your foundational fundamental software engineering stuff as opposed to the programming stuff. But, you can make games on apps as well. So stick around for this one because this might give you a bit more idea as well. If you attended the industry session just before, you would have seen Michael, who's from Merck. So KO, who is an AIT grad, he actually worked for Merck straight after AIT, and then went on to working for a company called Rapid Response Revival, where he made this app, which is called the First Aid Fast app. So basically what it is if you've got someone you see that's in pretty dire straits and you have to sort of call 000, you put all this information that you possibly can into this app, and that data gets transferred to the emergency team. So by the time the ambulance gets there, they've got a pretty good idea of what they're in for, not just trying to do a diagnosis from scratch. So you can see if it's a real serious issue, that can be the difference of saving someone's life or not. So he did really well with that app, which now put him into a senior programmer, pretty much a program management role. So he's gone from not knowing anything, being really scared about the idea of IT, to now working as a senior programmer, because he thought it was going to be stats and maths when it's kind of not really. It's more just knowing words and knowing text. So if anything, it's more in the qualitative mind as opposed to the quantitative mind. So, he's killing it now, and he's sort of come from not knowing anything as well. So we pretty much are the first course that's an IT degree that focuses on mobile app development. So if you've kind of picked up so far, we try to make IT fun. You probably don't hear the word fun in IT too often because it has, historically known to be quite dry. But as things are going on and more people are using apps and we incorporate the idea of games, it actually is pretty fun, and it's a really strong skill set. It does put you in a pretty different path as well in terms of jobs you can go for and, sort of being sought after. If you think about it now, 91% of people have an app, and it's probably growing as well, particularly since COVID, where it's becoming more virtual as well. 46% increase in app usage. That's probably up a bit more now since we've grabbed that data from Seek. 31,600 jobs in terms of IT over the next 4 years. App developer average salary 105. My brother-in-law is a senior app developer. He's offered jobs every month, and he just took a job for 200,000. So, It's a very, very safe, comfortable, smart decision going into the world of IT. Whether you're going to major in games programming or mobile app or whatever, you're still doing an IT degree, which is just one of the most fundamental things. Every company is now moving to some sort of software-related mechanism. So it really helps to have an IT background these days. So it's quite a, no matter how you slice it, even if you're telling your parents that you're going to do mobile app development or games programming, it's still a Bachelor of IT. So it's still a pretty good idea. So what we do is we teach you how to build an app for iOS, but also build an app for Android, which actually is a bit harder than you think. So think of making something exactly the same, but in two different ways, because it's different infrastructures for iOS and for Android. So it's basically trying to make the same thing twice, but coming up from two different points. So that puts you in pretty good stead to be able to design, build and publish whatever app that you want. So what is that called in terms of how do I make the same app twice? It's what's called language agnostics. So what is language agnostics? It's basically using a language for a particular purpose because that language is the best language to use. It's not just using Python because you happen to only know Python or like Python more. It's using JavaScript because JavaScript is the best language for that particular purpose. So you can use Python in a certain way, you can use Java in a certain way, and that puts you in this more wider skilled area to be able to sort of do whatever it is that you want because you're exposed to all of it. So we'll start off with the first top 5 languages. So you're starting with JavaScript, then Python, then Java, then C++, which is where C++ and C# is where a lot of Unity coding comes in. And you will do PHP as well. It's not there at the top there because it's more for like cloud and websites, but you will do it, but it's not as important for apps and stuff like that. But basically you're going into the world of being pretty multi-skilled in terms of what language you can use and being able to use the best language for that particular purpose, not just sticking with one because that's one you like more or whatever, or happen to be the only one that you're skilled at. So in terms of subjects, so you start off with your foundational elements. So you're going into learning how to code, learning how to program. You go into database systems, which is an introduction into SQL, introduction into Python, into Ruby. And then you got the choice of deviating into either games programming or mobile apps from the second year. So for mobile apps, you're focusing on Java itself. Then you're going into how to build an app in Android itself and how to build an app in iOS itself. Then you're moving towards your final app or your final project, which you then present to an industry. What's industry studio? Or advanced studio is what it's called, so it's an industry panel. So that can be an app of your choice, whether it's an app for robotics, an app for artificial intelligence, an app for IoT, which means Internet of Things. So that's building an app where you can turn your light on, or making an app that can turn your TV on or change the volume or whatever. And at this point, you're using whatever language you want. It doesn't matter anymore. This is kind of more focusing on your unique sort of flavor or your unique sort of IT preference, but keeping in mind that certain languages are best for certain things as well. So you present that to an IT studio or IT panel for marking, similar to how the Forge goes. And then you also go into what's called the external projects. That's working for an IT studio. So you're given a brief, an agreement, contracts, all that sort of stuff, and you're working on an IT mobile app project within a certain timeline. That's one of your subjects. Then you finish off with 120 hours at an IT studio. So you're in pretty good stead in terms of getting pretty solid hands-on IT skills and working for IT companies or working with them before you finish with us. And you get in your own sense too. You'll be able to make an app for whatever you want it to be, not just saying that, like we tell you to make it. It's like you want to make an Internet of Things app, then do it. Or if you want to make a robotics app, then do it. It's really up to you on what that app looks like, that finished product. So in terms of mobile app development and IT, from those 3 elements, from Advanced Studio, the external project, and from the internship, it's all leading towards 85% at the moment, which is a bit higher in terms of employment rate from everything else because it's a little bit more significant. It goes back into that language agnostics of being pretty multi-skilled when it comes to IT software and things like that. So, a lot of our students are actually doing really, really well from our course and they're having fun as well. It's, they're learning how to build stuff through software in more of an engaging way. So this kind of gives you a pretty good idea of what we're up against in terms of how good our students are going. So we have students put their IT projects forth in certain sort of award systems of the IP, ICTA, SERV, iAwards. We've had students win awards here at either of these sort of awards sort of days since 2016. So that's pretty good. So that's an award from an AIT student every single year since then. So if you haven't heard before, we've got scholarships. One's for domestic, one's for international. So basically you're given a brief, you tackle it the best you can, it gets sent to the academics for review, and then the winner receives percentages of their tuition fee. So there's one for domestic and one for international. So Henry and Tyus might chuck some more information in the chat there as well. So if you were pretty happy with what you saw today, you can put through an application. Don't worry about docs that you put in. We'll sort it out for you in terms of getting all your stuff certified and all that stuff. If you're an international for screening, and then we'll help you sort out your fee help or your visas and all that sort of stuff. But don't worry too much in terms of the initial process. Just chuck through an application and we'll help you with the rest of it. So yeah, if you're domestic, just jump on that website there, or our website, and that link. Henry will pop that in. And if you're an international, just shoot an email to international@ait.edu.au. So any more questions in regards to any of the courses that were done today, you can always send me a text or give me a buzz, or Henry or Tyus. If you just want to have a bit of a chat about any of the courses, or if you need more information on mobile apps or games programming, just feel free to reach out. We're happy to help. So we've got 5 minutes for the rest of the day. So I'm going to bring Henry back on. Henry, how you going there, mate? Did you get
Great.
Was there much going through today?
Yeah, we had a few questions and definitely some for Carlton and Natalia as well. I will start with the first one for Carlton. For those who are deciding which area, whether the mobile application or games programming to choose from, what would be kind of the guidance there, how to decide? Obviously, the passion is one of the most important things, but sometimes students feel that there is not enough transparency. What is the difference between those two? Because they can sometimes blend together.
That's a good question, right? Because mobile apps, and as you saw in the slides, right, we got all these nice interfaces and all that. And what happens from like a job perspective, right? Mobile apps is definitely in more demand than, say, a game, right? Because at the end of the day, every studio is working for a client. What client needs a game and what client needs an app? You have a ton more clients needing an app than those that in a game, right? And so for more of a passion sense, working in a game would be awesome for your passion, right? But for more like job opportunity, like if there's like more sort of thing, and like because games is very competitive as well, right? And then but apps is like it's competitive, but then there's a lot of people that needs it as well. So it's a catch-22 in terms of which one is better. I would say like let's say for example like this comes down to more like arguably local and international, right? Because if you're like international students per se, then it's like, all right, you need stability here to live in Australia and all that. So you need like that job steadiness, like even though you're passionate, but you're in overseas, so everything is like extra expensive. So on the safe side, maybe better. But then if you have that sort of foundation to sort of like pursue your passion, and then that means games would be, the other way. So, but yeah, it's a tough one, this one. It's passion versus like safety. Rich in job safety, right? Yeah.
Completely. Mm-hmm. A question for Natalia. How many projects have you done while studying with AIT, and did they help you to get a job later on?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, how many projects, I'm not sure, but probably more than around 10, I would say. I'm not sure. It's 3 years. So first year, it's just the base of IT. But then the second and the third year, I've done a couple of games, just the assignments, and then some other external projects as well. I've done internship as well. And that definitely helped with my portfolio. And that's one of the things that helped me to get a job for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome to hear. A question, another one for you. When you were choosing the provider for your university for yourself, what were the main criteria? Were you looking at the size of the class? Were you looking at the subjects? Sometimes the students also wonder, do I care about this part or do I care about another? What was it like for you?
Well, to be honest, I decided when I went to the campus and I saw, I'm being really honest, I saw it's like a really cool place. I don't know, it's just the vibe. I like the vibe of AIT. And that's one of the reasons that made me choose AIT, to be honest. Yeah.
That's awesome. Question for Carlton. Often we hear Android applications versus iOS platforms. How would you say this kind of balances in a course? Do you think that people should go and always try to focus on one over the other, or which one is kind of more present currently in the industry?
Well, if you're an app developer, you need to know both. You need to know iOS and Android, right? And so what happens is in iOS, they got Xcode. So you have to code it in Xcode because that's iOS, Apple, right? And then you got Android, which is Android Studio. And so they have their own software to do that. So there's that. And then there's what we call cross-platform, which is this software that you can just go file export and it exports to both Xcode and Android. And so you learn that as well. So in all three combined, you learn how to do it exclusive for your iOS, you know how to do exclusive for your Android, and you know this software which can export to both, so that once you're a mobile developer, you need to know both.
Pretty much bored of both of them.
I just do iOS apps and I can do both. Yeah.
Great. All right, that's the last question I had here. So back to you and Donna.
That's it. Awesome. Thank you so much for everybody that attended today. I will get one of our team to pop our details just in the chat again, just so if you do have sort of any inquiries or want to see our campus or learn more about us, feel free to reach out to any of us. Wishing you a really beautiful Christmas and New Year period, and hopefully we see you on campus in 2022. Thank you.
Before we go, I know there's still one more question. I just want to stop because there's still one more question. I'm sorry. But yeah, there was a Unity question as well, which is a really good question. So I thought I'd tackle that. So yeah, prior, we did come from a more Unity-oriented course, right? And so our game engine that we used was Unity, but we have recently transitioned into Unreal development because virtual production is coming up soon. And so by learning the Unreal engine, that also ties into the interactive media virtual production side of things. So, but at the end of the day, both of them are just as equally awesome, but we have now since transitioned to Unreal so that it tethers with the film department one day as well. So I hope that answers that question.
If you have any more questions, you can always just shoot us a text whenever as well, or send us an email as well, or go on the live chat on the website and we're happy to chat that way too. So it's not like it's the end. You can always ask us a question whenever.
Awesome.
Okay. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks, Natalia.
Everyone, have a good afternoon.
See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.